Hey guys, welcome to the last video on this little save file here. I was working on a project to reach 1,000,000 pops in Stellaris. We're currently sitting at 269.9 million. And the reason why this is getting interrupted a little early is because there has been an update to Stellaris. Now, prior to the update, you could get housing needs to 0%, which I was fairly certain was not intentional and was probably an oversight. Because with monoform, double jointed, and balance in the middle, you can always get minus 100% housing with robot pops, as if you were virtual, but you're not. There's also a relic we have that does this too, which would be the defragmenter. That's for all pops. Anyway, yes, this is a galaxy with 269.9 million pops that has not crashed once. It has been functioning, and prior to the update was generating over 300,000 pops per week, per month tick. But with the very recent change, pretty much every arcology is now oversaturated with so many robot pops that the biotrophies are all beginning to die en masse. Technically, I can still make pops, but once all the biotrophies are gone, the massive bonus to that production of almost 7,000% on Earth from pop jobs will be gone. And that is being caused by an excessive amount of lubrication terminals. Because of the pop jobs massively increasing how many there actually are, and each one then applies that pop job growth from this building right here, the hyperlubrication basin. And that is from the hyperlubrication basin Civic. It's the machine version of the mutagenic pool and all that. The Empire Sprawl is also incredibly high, as you might have seen. And we have a lot of arcologies. The L cluster, for example, if I post some lists here, this is the L cluster. It is a series of arcologies holding millions of pops each, mostly robots, tens of millions per world, and this was only growing. And then multiple mining worlds meant to harvest thousands of minerals, not only for the consumer production, but critical energy production. Because as you might see here, we're producing 1.86 million energy credits. This is all vanilla Stellaris, by the way, so the Stellaris 4.0 update in Iron Man mode on the most recent update of 4.0.15. And that is because Rizor Prime here got lucky and rolled a very special planetary feature that grows as you get more pops, which, without the need to worry about housing, means it would grow indefinitely. In fact, this is mostly stable still if I just remove enough pops. But this is also a complex pop job, so it has 206,000 workers being modified by biotrophies to be 1.6 million, effectively meaning it can generate up to 1.7 million energy credits per month. This is basically, this planet is just a giant fusion reactor masquerading as a planet, essentially. It is absolutely beautiful. We also have the Cradle Zone, which is just more arcologies that we took from a fallen empire. The Alpha Complex is a bunch of ring world stations to house more people. In fact, I could even move some here and maybe save a few worlds, but the vast supermajority of it is not going to happen. And then there are literally dozens of worlds and habitats all along this area that are not even developed yet. There was a plan to make a new arcology from this one because it's a size 29 world, but with the changes that have been made, it's just not possible to have the housing for it anymore, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, this is a massive. I'll even let the game tick here to show you. It still runs. It will tick to the next month here, and we'll see what happens to the top growth. Boom. Now it's 270.2 million pops. The only downside is that we're now starting to lose our biotrophies. And as the biotrophies die out, we're going to start having less pop jobs. This is going to start falling every other month. And eventually we're going to end up having none. I did also have another funny bug where there's a bunch of biotrophies that are like undesirables. So they exist, but they don't give me benefits. And it's really weird. They were all because of... They all came over as refugees, and they were all considered undesirables, but weren't being eliminated. So they just sit there eating food and just kind of doing nothing. Kind of being themselves without the benefits for me. So that's a weird bug. There was also another weird bug I mentioned before in the previous video where various pops were suddenly exploding in growth from a weird bug I couldn't explain. It happened 2 more times after that video, and both times I was able to fix it. But it was a very weird bug. I think it was here. Nope, this one's actually safe. Thank goodness. But yeah, there are many arcologies that were producing, I think it was here. Yes. Tens of thousands of robots, in rare cases over 20,000 robots, plus about 100 to 200 bio trophies, though as you can see that's now all degrading. Ascension costs for Unity are insane. We're talking tens of millions now because of the amount we have, even after the Mega Art installation and collective reasoning. And earlier I actually had 1G of Unity, or 1 billion as this game is calling it. We make 5 million trade per month, which means this deficit we could just... What deficit? There's no deficit. There actually is. We're actually about to run out of consumer goods too, because it's been a while since I expanded it. We technically have pretty much all parts of the galaxy as a vassal, except the Azantian entity. They're only showing red. Because they are part of the Galactic Imperium, but this is basically the state of the galaxy, and I was just working my way of slowly chewing them out while seizing key megastructures they built, since I can't build more of them. And we have just been using a reshaped form to reduce robot upkeep further, because we're growing so fast. We were growing so fast, the agendas get more progress time added than we actually add on to them, meaning agendas last indefinitely until I launch them early. Which means, thank goodness, I got the compendium, which allows you to launch them early at 10% of their cost, because that was very needed. The departmental efficiency has been used to reduce the empire size as well. We have a bunch of edicts active. Some had to be canceled though, like all of these, using the volatiles and exotic gas, because it got too expensive from empire size. It became too much. Even though we produce so much, we were actually in the red earlier when I canceled them, to give you an idea of how big it was. But departmental efficiency, it's cutting this down so much. You have to keep in mind, the amount of empire sprawl you're seeing from pops, that is 10%. If you add everything up from OTA updates to balance in the middle, but before interstellar assemblies, that is a 90% reduction to the actual number. So it is 201,000 right now while being massively reduced. That's 10%. This means it would be at 2 million. 2 million empire sprawl if I did nothing. Absolutely insane. And these are just kind of the traditions I ended up going for at the time. And the ascension perks got a little weird. Eventually I just took the last one here, the engineers, to get more specimen output, because I couldn't decide what to take beyond that point. I didn't need anything else. And I think 1 or 2 of these civics could be changed. Like supremacy could be something else, but at the time I needed it because of the fallen empires, the endgame crisis, and all that. And modularity is very fun. That's how you get the model form for the minus 80% to the robot's housing needs. And with that before, you could get this to 0, but the cap is now at 90%, like it is for a lot of other things, which, to be fair, that makes sense. Otherwise, if you make housing irrelevant, I mean, look at the numbers. Look at what you can get. Did this ever grow up enough? No, it did not. This one has been growing a lot. 22,000 robot pops. Massive arcologies. I think Earth might still be our largest one at 26 million, with minus 2.5 million housing now, but 353 million amenities. Lots of amenities. It's very good. Probably the best place you could ever be, except no one has homes now and people are slowly dying in the streets because of it. I could technically keep this going until the bio trophies eventually die out and we're at a fraction of our pop growth, so maybe we could reach 300 million still. But with the newest update, it's kind of impossible to reach now, and I got really lucky with Resort. One more thing is we also got the portal research area twice on this planet. I don't think you're supposed to get it twice, so that's kind of a bug. But that allowed this planet to make over 500,000 physics research per month. That's why we have so much research up here. And it's the only technology that can finish in time. Everything else here, unless departmental efficiency is active, these techs can't finish because the amount of additional time they need to do is increased each month. I have 3 science nexi now, it says here, because of the science nexi that I captured. we're working with 201% research bonus projects on physics research. And it takes dozens of months to get through this. We've done this tech so many times, we're still in the red. The robot pops, I believe, are working at 60% or so efficiency, upkeep. The 65% when reshape form's not active. Yeah, so 65% of their upkeep. This was quite fun. I did have a lot of fun with it. I was hoping to reach 1 billion pops, but that's gonna require some new thinking. I think if I took over the entire galaxy and made hundreds of worlds, maybe I could still do it. But we're talking this game would easily go past the year 3000 at that point because of the amount of arcologies you would have to make. Probably triple to even quadruple what I have now. There are 101 worlds still that I could do this on. One of them is even an arcology itself at almost minus 2 million housing. But yeah, this was really fun. I'm impressed that the game engine held up the entire time. Again, not one crash. As I'll show, it got slower and it lags as it ticks. But it never crashed. It never crashed once, which is pretty impressive for Stellaris. And, well, Paradox games in general, I'd say, considering how often Victoria 3 has crashed, and I'd stress it a bit. Not too often, but it's happened a few times in runs. Yeah, let me know if you liked this, and I will see you all next time.